Hey guys, Chef Angela here from Fresh Food Friday, and today I'd like to introduce my tofu and broccoli pot sticker dumplings. One thing about these dumplings is you might think they're a little bit too healthy, but definitely not. They're packed with flavour. It's a nice alternative to your usual pork or prawn dumplings, and this one is a crowd pleaser, I'm telling you. So today we're going to be using a firm tofu. It's usually the tofu that's in the water. The reason why we need to press it is we need to get as much moisture out as possible, because otherwise our dumplings might burst. So now that we pull that out of the water, set this aside. We're just going to use half of it, so about 250 grams. Now the way to press it, pop it in a little tray, and we're going to cover it with the baking paper, and you're going to grab something really heavy. I've just got some cookbooks here, and I'm going to sit that on top. So it's going to press out the moisture. We're just going to set that aside for 10 minutes. Now a little tip for you, how to peel your ginger. I'm going to put a little bit of this ginger inside of my dumpling. The way to actually do it is grab and break off quite a large piece, and you're going to grab a spoon and literally scrape off the skin. This is a really easy way rather than trying to get a small paring knife, and it keeps the integrity also of the ginger. So you're going to keep a lot of those nutrients inside that come from just underneath the skin of the ginger. Now once we've got most of that skin off, we're going to finally chop that into matchsticks. So literally slicing it into small pieces. And probably for this recipe, you'd probably need maybe a tablespoon of ginger. Now popping that all aside, turning that into matchsticks as we've sliced it really thinly already, literally slicing it into little matchsticks. Be careful of your fingers. And in this case, this ginger is quite fresh and fragrant. So when it is young, it means that it's more pungent with flavour, really quite spicy and beautiful. Ginger's great for digestion as well. So a really, really healthy addition to any Asian recipes that you have. Now I'm just brunoise turning it into small squares to add to my mix. And that's ginger for you. I've literally over here just blanched my broccoli, and I've had it sitting in a bowl just to get rid of the extra residue so that your dumplings aren't wet. So you're kind of doing the same thing as you would do with the tofu pressing. I'm going to add that to my board here, and we're going to finely chop that. It doesn't have to be too fine, but just fine enough to be able to notice that inside your dumpling you're actually eating broccoli, which is extremely beautiful. This broccoli, I've cooked it so that it's almost a little bit firm. You don't want it mushy. So literally blanching it for 30 seconds in hot water and refreshing it under cold water. I probably had that sitting there maybe for about 15 minutes. So now that I've chopped my broccoli, I'm going to grab my bowl. I'm going to add all of my bits and pieces to my bowl, and this will be the base of our dumpling. That on top. As you can see, it's absolutely so fragrant and beautiful. If only you could smell it. Now to add in our shallots or scallions or spring onions, depending on where you're from in the world, we're just going to slice those. Now in Western culture, you usually eat the white part. In Asian culture, we eat just the green part. They have to be a little bit different. And we're going to slice it just into little pieces to add to our dumplings. This will give it also a little added crunch when you're eating it. That's probably enough. Add that to the bowl. And now for seasoning. I like to use sesame oil. This is a really good one you can buy from a lot of Asian grocery stores. Probably about 1 tablespoon. And I've also got Kikkoman soy. This is a gluten-free version. I quite like it because it's not as salty as normal Kikkoman soy sauce. Now that I've got that in the bowl, I'm just going to let it permeate through the broccoli. Oh, the smell, so incredible. Now setting that aside, let's check out our tofu. Just remove the books and let's have a look and see. Now that's been pressed nicely. You can see a lot of condensation on the bottom. So the tofu is actually being pressed the liquid out of it. Literally going to add it to my bowl and crumble it like cottage cheese. So easy. The great thing is with tofu is that it's going to take on the different flavors within the dumpling. So you'll take on the ginger, you'll take on the soy, and you'll also take on the sesame oil. Once now that you have crumbled your tofu within the mix, and again, you really don't need to have it too small, mix it through with your flavorings. You could use a spoon just to make the pieces a little bit smaller. And at this stage, I would add a little bit more sesame oil and a little bit more soy, probably 2 teaspoons, and white pepper. White pepper is the #1 ingredient in Asian cooking. It gives it that beautiful, I don't know what it is. It gives it the tanginess that no other cuisine has. So now we've added that to the bowl, and again, just squashing any larger bits down. And now we're ready to make our dumplings. And now that we've got our filling made, I'm going to show you how we're going to make our pot sticker dumplings. Now the difference between the wrappers, you might find it a little bit unusual. You go to different shops, you go to the Coles or Woolies. The best place to go would be to your Asian grocer. You've got the wonton wrappers, which are the rectangular ones, and they're made of egg. And you've also got the round dumplings. Now these ones have no egg in them, and they're literally round for pot sticker dumplings. The thing with the dumplings is that they really dry out quite quickly, so you really need to have them underneath a little tablecloth or mat or something like that to keep them not to dry out. So first of all, grab your first sheet, and I've taught this to so many people around the world. They're not easy, but I'm going to show you the easiest way. Grab your dumpling, put it in your left hand. You're going to grab your mix and you're going to pop a little bit on the inside. For beginners, basically put a little bit less than what you think. Have some water handy, and once you just dip your 2 fingers into the water, and you're going to make a crescent moon shape around half of the dumpling wrapper. Now with your other hand, you're going to hold this with your thumb and you're going to pinch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once you've pinched that together, you can see that you've only pinched that one side. The other side is flat. And then you will press it down on your bench or your chopping board, and you're going to make a flat part. Now that flat part will go into the fry pan, and that will be crispy. So that's how they call it a pot sticker. It has a crispy base. Let's try that again. Grab another sheet, put 1.5 teaspoons or a little bit more if you're getting adventurous. Grab a bit of water, crescent moon shape on half of the dumpling wrapper. Now you're only folding the inside piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you could go up to 8 if you'd like, but try with 4. Popping it down, pushing it down so you have a flat base. There you have it, another dumpling. Let's go again. So I'm going to make 8 because 8 is a very lucky Chinese number. I was born in Australia, but my parents are from Hong Kong and Hong Kong Chinese. So I grew up making all of these dumplings at home every weekend. We would sit around as a family and really enjoy each other's company and make dumplings. It's all quite fun. You can actually make these dumpling wrappers. They are a little bit fiddly, but I quite like using the store-bought ones because it just means an easy midweek dinner as we're folding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you work it up, as you get more proficient with it, you can do 8. So let's try 8. Crescent moon again, round the outside. This sticks the dumpling together. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there you have it. My beautiful dumpling. Now just do a few more and then we'll cook them off in the pan. It's really important to get your pan quite hot. So let's turn this on now. Other fillings you could put in your dumplings could be pork and scallion, pork and ginger, you could add prawn, you could actually add lobster, you could add Moreton Bay bugs, so many different things. I do love all the different types of fillings, and I will be actually making a couple of other videos as well. So make sure you check out the link on our YouTube channel. Again, as my last one, let's do 8. So you can see we're making the folds closer and closer together. There you have it, my dumplings. So as they sit there, you really need to cook them pretty much straight away. Otherwise they do get soggy. You can't really make them in advance. The best way is to make them and cook them straight away and enjoy. Now, a little lick of oil in our pan, not olive oil, just any kind of vegetable oil or rice bran oil, which is great. And you can feel that that's really, really quite hot. Okay, so grab your pot stickers and you're going to add it and swirl it around the bottom of the pan so they don't stick. Again, another one, and again, and again, and so forth. The key is also not to crowd the pan as well, so that would be perfect. Just like that. Now let's have a look at the base of that one there. Not yet, it is getting quite crispy. So you want to get that really, really caramelized base on the dumpling at this stage. Have a look at this one. This one's getting quite there. Oh, the smell is so good. Also, you've got your water handy. So once the actual bases are really caramelized, that's that moment, we're going to add probably 5 teaspoons of water. Grab your lid, and now the dumplings are steaming. So basically over the next couple of minutes, we're going to let the dumplings steam and cook. And once all of the water's evaporated, we're going to still have that crispy base. In the meantime, I'd like to show you how to make our dumpling sauce. As we talked about earlier, I like to use the Kikkoman gluten-free soy. So I'm going to add 5 spoons of that. 4, 5. And in our household, we quite like to have individual little sauces for everyone, because everyone likes to make their own in our house. I like to use this black vinegar. Now this vinegar is widely renowned. You can find this anywhere in any pretty much supermarket or Asian supermarket. This is called black vinegar. So the same amount, 50-50 equal amounts of black vinegar to the soy sauce. I'm also going to add my sesame oil, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you could say 5. And some white pepper. This is the white pepper that I like to use, Mackenzie's. You can buy that also anywhere as well. Grab your chopsticks and slowly swirl that around. And that is your sauce. So pungent and so flavoursome. I love the fact that the sesame oil just is going to coat the outside of the dumpling and just make it extra yummy. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but the water's almost evaporated on the bottom of my pan. So we're just going to wait another little bit longer. The great thing about pot stickers is they've got that crispy base. So even though it is broccoli and tofu and it doesn't need to be cooked through, if you were cooking pork, obviously you'd need to make sure that the pork was cooked all the way through, and also the prawns or the lobsters as well. So you'll be able to see me cook some of those later on in another cooking demo. Oh yeah. Now what we need to do now is to let them sit a little bit so that they can actually re-crisp up again. There's a little tiny bit of moisture left in the pan. I will move it over a little bit. Now I'll pick one up and show you the base. Oh, so good. And now just to turn the heat off, I will place them on my dish here. I'm going to plate them up on our platter here. So delicious. Yum. What a delicious midweek dinner. Or lunch or breakfast, to be honest. And there you have it, my broccoli and tofu pot sticker dumplings.